On a cold autumn evening in 1979, the bright lights of The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson glowed across America. The audience laughed as Johnny Carson delivered his famous monologue with effortless charm. But backstage, sitting quietly in the shadows, was a man who looked nothing like the fearless cowboy the world adored. John Wayne adjusted his jacket slowly, hiding the tremble in his hands. Once, he had towered like a giant in Hollywood, the unstoppable hero who never backed down. But cancer had stolen much of his strength. Every breath felt heavier than the last. A producer approached him gently. "5 minutes, Duke." Wayne nodded, though his eyes stayed fixed on the floor. The nickname Duke used to make him smile. Tonight, it only reminded him of the man he used to be. When Carson welcomed him onto the stage, the crowd erupted into thunderous applause. People stood cheering, some even wiping tears from their eyes. To them, John Wayne was immortal. But as he walked toward the chair, the audience noticed something painful. His famous stride had slowed. His shoulders sagged. The cowboy who once rode across deserts now looked tired, terribly tired. Johnny Carson shook his hand warmly and tried to keep the mood light. "You still look tougher than the rest of us, Duke." The audience laughed softly. Wayne smiled, but it faded quickly. "Well, Johnny, sometimes the horse keeps moving long after the cowboy, worn out." The studio fell silent. Carson leaned forward, sensing something deeper beneath the joke. He had interviewed hundreds of stars, but tonight felt different. There was sadness in Wayne's eyes, the kind that couldn't be hidden by cameras or applause. For a moment, Wayne stared into the audience as if searching for someone from another lifetime. "You know," he said quietly, "people think actors are brave because of the roles we play. Truth is, most of us are scared, especially when the lights go out." No one moved. Even the cameramen stood frozen. Wayne cleared his throat and continued. "I spent my whole life playing heroes, men who never cried, men who never lost, but real life doesn't work that way." Carson's expression softened. Wayne looked down at his hands. "There comes a day when you realize the fight isn't about winning anymore. It's about holding on to the people you love before time runs out." A woman in the audience began crying. Johnny Carson rarely lost his composure on television, but his eyes glistened. He reached over and placed a hand on Wayne's shoulder. "You've meant a lot to people, Duke," Carson said softly. Wayne gave a weak smile. "I just hope they remember me kindly." For several seconds, neither man spoke. The silence carried more emotion than words ever could. Then, unexpectedly, the audience stood once again, not cheering wildly this time, but applauding with quiet respect. It felt less like Hollywood and more like saying goodbye to an old friend. John Wayne looked around the studio, taking it all in. The lights, the curtains, the applause, the faces. Perhaps he knew deep down that moments like this were running out. As the interview ended, Carson hugged him tightly. And for the briefest moment, the tough cowboy closed his eyes like a weary man, finally allowing himself to rest. Months later, when news spread that John Wayne had passed away, many remembered that interview. Not because of a joke or a movie story, but because America had seen something rare that night. Not the fearless cowboy, but the fragile man behind the legend.